Bitcoin is dead. I repeat, Bitcoin is dead. According to Google, at least, this is Around the Blockchain. Thank you for joining, everybody. Please go ahead and hit that like button because we have some fantastic guests lined up. We're going to get right into it. On the top left, I don't have any limericks today. It is Altcoin Daily, one of my favorite content creators in the space, including maybe the best crypto Twitter in all of the existence. He's up there with Greg, folks. Altcoin Daily, always great to have you on. Are you ready to talk about prison swaps?
Great to be here, DZ. I just smashed the like button.
Hey, thank you very much. Hopefully you didn't break your keyboard. Also on today, he's not breaking any walls because they're padded. It is Piano Matty B. Piano Matty B, are you ready to talk some Bitcoin? Is it dead to you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, if you look at your YouTube analytics, they have something to say about the interest.
Hey, that is a touchy subject for everybody on the show.
Mine, not
okay.
yours.
Okay. Ours as well. All right. Also on today, RiceTVx. He always has his ledger on him, or maybe he doesn't. Rice, are you ready to talk about some ledger?
Definitely looking forward to it, man. Thanks for having me back on the show.
And speaking of ledger, he was trying to warn you folks weeks ago on how to save over 70% of you guys from getting scammed out there. It is Mind Your Biz. If only you would have listened. Mind Your Biz, what are your thoughts? Are you ready to deep dive into the ledger controversy?
Let's dissect it. Let's get it all up in there.
All right. Well, first, though, Bitcoin is dead, though. Bitcoin is dead. We must talk about this. We have a chart showing the Google trends. This is going back about 2-3 years or so. And guys, it does not look good. You can see just a sharp downtrend. And we haven't been this low since before January 21. That is right. It's been December 20, at least, since we have been this low. You saw a few spikes. Could we pull it up one more time? Just to show folks at home. I want to show there are a few spikes in volume. The first spike after the early price action, well, guess what? That came from Terra Luna, folks. But it's okay. There's another spike after that. That was Celsius. Oh, that's not a good spike. Wait a minute. There's one more spike in Google interest. Oh, I'm sorry. That coincided with FTX collapse. All right. Well, it's not been the best time to be Googling Bitcoin lately. Altcoin Daily, I just want to get you. The last 3 spikes all came from negative news. What do you think the 4th spike is going to be? Negative or positive, and why?
Yeah, can we change that Twitter?
Yeah.
I want to promote.
Wait a minute. Seth, hey, you've lost your tan. Talene did not have any sun, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
You got
regarding
hacked.
your question, though, I'm sure the people in the back are working on it, so I'll answer the question. The last 3 spikes have been negative. Will the next one be negative or positive? And I mean, the bigger question is Bitcoin dead? It's not dead. We've seen so many companies increase their crypto arm. So not just like start getting into crypto, which they can always back out from, but get into crypto years ago and now continue to get into crypto. So like Coinbase doing tons of marketing now. They have a Move America Forward campaign, national campaign that coincides with their lobbying to try and get good regulations. We have PayPal increasing what they're doing with crypto. For instance, just recently partnering with MetaMask. You can take your coins off of PayPal. We have Kraken going public sometime within the next year. So as far as like what's going to happen next, is it going to be negative or positive? Personally, I think news follows price. Some people could say price follows news, and they do have a kind of symbiotic relationship. They both pull on each other. But I think with the Bitcoin halving coming up and just generally the market bottoming this year, last year, I think as Bitcoin trends up sometime in the next year or two, as Ethereum trends up, we're going to see a lot more companies start releasing positive updates, positive news, and everything compounds on each other. So what will it take for positive news, positive searches to come through on Google? I think it just takes time and price. And once price starts inching up, we're going to see more and more updates, and it's just going to compound on itself.
All right. So when things are good, the news, hey, it's good news. I must Google it. When things are terrible, the bad news. All right. Yeah, I definitely agree. There's definitely some sort of symbiotic relationship. I know the TA people say, hey, I knew Elon was going to tweet about that because the chart showed it. But hey, and you're no stranger to symbiotic relationships. You and your brother were roommates first 9 months of your life there. Piano Matty B, this seems to be somewhat of a worrisome trend. I want to ask you, is this lining up with any kind of macro charts? I mean, is there a reversal on the horizon, or is this just more pain in the months ahead?
Well, it's a good question, DZ. You know, like having a conversation with a normal person at the squash club today. We're talking about economics, and it's like there's so many bad things coming out in the future that I wish sometimes I could just blink my eyes and be a complete normal person that knew nothing about anything. Because I remember in 2008 when the SHIT hit the fan, I didn't notice anything, and guess what? Nothing affected me. It's like life just went on. I was much younger then and didn't have anything to kind of lose. But at the same time, I was oblivious to it. It didn't affect me. Now it's like I can't, I spend dinners or I'm friends just thinking, you guys have no idea what's on the horizon economically speaking. And so, you know, so I think that's what we're going to see is these tick ups will be basically negative because I don't see anything positive happening macroeconomically speaking. For Bitcoin, I'm always positive it's always going to go up eventually, but we're going to have some stormy, dicey situations on the horizons. That's what I think.
Yeah, I remember that period. I didn't really have too much skin in the game. I think wealthier people around me were like, "Oh no, it's the sky is falling." I didn't have anything to lose. Hold on, I'm getting a note. No, sorry, take my hat off. Oh, I had the hair. I see what you did there. Okay, that was a good one from our producers there. All right, RiceTVx. I saw that chart. We were spiking in May of 21. Obviously, it was right after April, all-time high, you know, right above 60K. Huge spikes in volume there. Everyone's searching for it. What do you think? Will we ever exceed that height with the next bull run? Or is the chances to be a millionaire, is all that over? Is Bitcoin too boring these days to ever hit those May 21 heights again?
No, I mean, I definitely believe that we're going to hit those all-time highs again. It's just I don't feel like it's obviously going to be happening this year. If we look at the typical 4-year cycles, I mean, we should be looking at late 24, sometime into 25 for us to be hitting that point. And everything seems to be kind of saying that we are still in a traditional bear market. I mean, even the Google Analytics saying that the Bitcoin searches are down, it makes complete sense of what's going on. Now, it's unfortunate because, and excuse my voice, I'm still recovering from Florida, talking over top that loud music. But it's unfortunate that most people have not really kind of realized the lifeboat that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are offering in this turmoil that we have going on. I agree with what Matty had to say in the long run. And I do say we will hit new all-time highs, but I feel like we still haven't hit the bottom of the market yet. And I still feel like there's a lot worse coming. I mean, not only are we dealing with the uncertainty of the debacle that they're doing with all the drama for the debt ceiling crisis. But in addition to that, I mean, the Federal Reserve put out a report in Q3 of last year talking about 277 banks being insolvent. And we've only had a handful of banks so far this year. And those handful of banks have exceeded 2008. So I definitely feel like we have a lot more pain to go. We don't know what the Federal Reserve is going to do with the interest rates coming mid next month. I believe it's the 13th and 14th for the next FOMC meeting. So there's a lot of uncertainty with that. A lot of people are expecting that the Federal Reserve will continue with raising interest rates, even if it's 25 basis points. And that's going to continue to put more pressure on the regional and smaller banks, which will continue to make the cracks worse. And I've compared this to as you're driving down a highway and you have a rock hit your windshield. At first, you might have just like a little chip, maybe a little crack from where that took place. Now, the next day when you come out to your car, you're going to notice that crack is splintered out and gotten bigger. And if you haven't gotten your windshield fixed within a week, I'm pretty sure that that thing is spider-webbed out. We are in the midst of that spider web cracking on the windshield. We're witnessing it. And I encourage people to make sure that you're covering your assets as best as possible.
All right, and Safe Flight Repair, Safe Flight Replace. We'll let you be a sponsor if you want. Money. Hey, come on. No, yeah, but Incognito Privacy Browser, we do have a link if you do want to check that out. And speaking of privacy, there's one man who does know a little bit about privacy and security. And strangely enough, I almost would think you have a psychology degree when it comes to the psychology of a trader, the psychology of the crypto degen. I put you up there with Arcane Bear, kind of sifting through the noise and just really boiling down the essence of what makes us tick here. I want to ask you, do you have any theories on why the negative news attracts more action than the positive? Aren't we all trying to wag me, Seth?
Yeah, we are all trying to wag me. And first off, thank you for having me back on the show. It's such a pleasure to be with such incredibly bright and talented and outspoken and popular individuals. Not to mention handsome and funny. So I'm mostly just talking about Aaron, actually, if I'm being honest. But I feel really.
I'm not in a Lifetime movie, so I mean,
You need to wipe
clearly
that
he's
stuff
in
off of
another
your
level
nose,
above
though,
me.
Seth.
I'm just saying, man.
Your nose has something brown on it, Seth. That's all I'm saying.
Well, so every now and then, it feels like, it's hard to compete, Aaron. I'm sorry. Leave some for the rest of us is what I'm saying. So what I'm getting at is when you ask the question, why does it stick out in our minds most? It's because of contrast and affinity. We're relatively predictable creatures, actually. We're pack animals. We're co-evolved with canines. So we're very, very similar in that way. Not to get too weird or too nerdy, because crap, I'm probably already too late. But we're co-evolved with canines. We're pack animals. We like consistency. We like an alpha for the most part. Most people like an alpha to tell them exactly what's going to happen next, to tell them exactly that everything's going to be okay, right? Mama wolf coming over and looking behind your ear or whatever, and we like to just be told that things are going to be okay. We like to be lulled into a false sense of security. And so when something sticks out, right, when something grabs our attention and is outside of the norm, that really grabs our attention. Negative news is like that, DZ. It's like that for us, especially in these markets, and we latch onto those things. That tends to move the market, and that tends to sway sentiment much more effectively than just telling us like, oh yeah, cool, Bitcoin is on rails. Everybody put on your laser eyes. Things are going to be great. Straight like rocket ship to 100K. We saw how that turned out, right? And people, when they get lulled into that false sense of security without paying attention to the negative news, it creates a problem. Now, it probably is some kind of like mass formation psychosis, right? When you talk about people getting a little bit too dialed into just possibly positive outcomes, like uninformed optimism. But negative news, in my opinion, it stands out because it's supposed to be a warning. We're supposed to be able to sense fear and latch onto it and use it as a tool and as a guidepost. It's supposed to be something that helps us to make better decisions and not just be dismissive and tribal. But unfortunately, when we latch onto tribal tendencies, when we latch onto too much affinity, when we say like, "Oh, don't shatter my my echo chamber, don't take me out of the echo chamber," well, then we wind up having problems. Now, negative news can be false, sort of a false guide as well, right? When we latch onto that too much and we say, you know what, I'm only comfortable listening to the counterpoint. Counterculture can be this way, right? Counterculture can be like, well, the only signal for me is something that everybody else thinks is noise. Right. So we got to be careful about where we get that data. Current Bitcoin sentiment. I agree with Aaron actually largely. And it's almost, I feel a little bit validated because on my show, when I do stream, when I do talk about the charts, I also look at the Bitcoin fear and greed index. And I also believe that price is the leading indicator of sentiment for the most part. We've finally gotten to that point in Bitcoin's life cycle where it isn't purely sentiment driven. People are finally starting to admit that, like, yeah, when I wake up and I look at the charts, that affects my mood. And now sentiment is propagated throughout social media. And now we start to see the negative news when it comes to just Bitcoin proper. But other stuff, black swan events, Ledger, as it turns out, having a fully planned backdoor that they're going to frame it 100 other ways. But all that sort of thing, you can't chart that. You can't know that, right? You can't possibly plan for that sort of thing. And also, like, you don't look at Bitcoin's price and surmise like there's going to be some kind of outside force that's going to create negative news. It just happens when it happens, and either you're ready for it or you're not. But you do have to keep your mind open to the possibility that things are not always perfect, and that there may be some negative news that's worth kind of absorbing into your worldview, and then be prepared to try to weight it appropriately. That's the best I can offer right there.
No, great stuff there. Two things. Things aren't always perfect, but this headshot is certainly perfect. This is Aaron Arnold back. I think it was just taken like 2 weeks ago. And I'm glad you brought up the fear and greed index. In my opinion, has been my best macro indicator. Not like I try to trade long-term too much, but it's been, looking back, it just seems to do pretty well. Hey, we're record fear. Probably a good time to buy. Oh, record greed. Probably a good time to sell. Works out for me at least.
Decent,
all right.
Decent compass, right? Points to north.
It's not bad, especially them single digits. Hey, start rethinking your strategy there. All right. Well, speaking of needing to rethink their strategy, let's talk about Ledger. Ledger, of course, in hot water. We have a picture of the CEO He was just, wringing his hands just in frustration over the backlash that he got from the public. All the scrutiny they received here. CEO's Pascal Gauthier, I think that's how you say it, right? That's him wringing his hands right there, just in pain, not celebration. Let's quote him here. The past week has been a humbling experience. And he also apologized for the firm's, quote, miscommunication there. The big story here, they announce, hey, we're going to be able to recover your seed phrase, is the seed phrase recovery, ledger recovery program. They announced it just 8 days ago. This is crypto. Feels like 2 months at this point. They shard your seed phrase into 3 different things. And then, they're going to be the entity, the centralized entity that then reads that, gives it back to you. I'm sure this gross summation of what really happened in there. But in response, it's okay, guys, because now they're going to open source more of its code base. It doesn't say all, but hey, they're accelerating the plans to open source more. And also, they're going to release in the coming days a white paper on the Recover protocol, as well as, and Seth is going to love this one, technical blog posts to explain the principles of Recover. Now, mind your biz, just off those few things, is that going to be even barely enough to sway public opinion? Is it already too late? Are they already seen as a Bud Light?
Yeah, as it is, I mean, consumer decision has been made, right? The court of public opinion is back in, right? We see 12 angry men. At this point, it's already lost. So they're trying to recoup ground. It's damage control, and they're doing it wrong. There are really good damage control playbooks. And I'm not a PR professional. I just happen to work with a few. And what I hear from them is that Ledger's they're not running the damage control playbook correctly, right? For whatever reason, in modern society, right? In modern marketing, we seem to think that you don't have to, first off, apologize for doing something wrong. Apologize for betraying your customer base and bringing them something that they didn't want, even when they very vocally tell you, we don't like this, we don't want this. So to your point, yeah, they're about to get Anheuser-Busch'd, but yeah, this is I don't know, I guess grab the popcorn. Everybody likes a slow motion train wreck.
Okay. All right. Well, RiceTVx, I mean, is it completely over? Can they maybe get the new wave of retail 2 years from now, the bull market, where, hey, we don't really remember, they weren't, involved in crypto Twitter every day like we are. Is there a chance maybe 2 years down the line where they'll still be one of the top wallet providers?
Yeah, unfortunately, probably, yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of people who don't want to take responsibility for themselves, so they would actually want this service. And I mean, we've seen the success of Solana, which was a complete BS blockchain, and people still ignored all the red flags that it had to offer, and it still did well until the demise of FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried. So I don't really have a lot of faith in people anymore. I try my best to. I've just started realizing you can't help anyone who doesn't want to help themselves, and you can't help anyone think for themselves until they're ready to do so and use critical thinking. This gives us a really good opportunity, though, because Ledger has had like a really big kind of pull in the market. I mean, as far as cryptocurrency hardware wallets, they were the top wallet. So now it's giving some of these these other companies and some of these other technologies a little bit of shine. I'm appreciating what Seth is doing as far as like his technical ability, trying to share about other wallets. And I did send him some information today based off seeing one of his tweets about Bitbox, because that's fully open source. And when I met those guys at Consensus, they were warning me about Ledger, and I had tried to get in touch with them to schedule an interview. They're in Sweden, so it hasn't happened as of yet. But the most alarming thing about this, that is being brought to attention now, that wasn't being brought to attention a few years ago, is the Ledger CEO in 2020 speaking at World Economic Forum's Davos and speaking about how privileged that they are to be speaking at the World Economic Forum's Davos. So I just retweeted that from their CTO, but it was the Ledger CEO that was doing this. And I believe MetaMask is partnered with the World Economic Forum. So it's really, really disheartening. I've had this thing that I've been telling people that I really am starting to not like the direction, and I've been feeling like this for quite some time, not like the direction that cryptocurrency is headed, because we started with this very libertarian minded mindset of be your own bank and to get rid of the banking system that we saw as the problem. And now we see working with the banking system, the TradFi system. We have Joseph Lubin and Consensus writing CBDC white papers. We have Chainlink partnering up with Swift. And we have all these other cryptocurrency companies that are privileged and proud to join the World Economic Forum. And this is the part of cryptocurrency that just makes me sick to my stomach. But at the same time, I feel a responsibility to stand here and make sure that people know that these people in the space are traders and that this is not what cryptocurrency was built and represented to be. And cryptocurrency is for the people. And when people realize that they have the power, when enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people. But the people just need to wake up. And that's the problem, man.
Hey, we're taking a stand even while sitting there. Just give a quick shout out. What was that wallet provider from? I think you said Sweden. Just give them a name shout out here.
Bitbox.
Bitbox. All right, get out of the IKEA. Give them an interview. Let's blow these people up. All right, Piano Matty B. Want to ask you: do you think that all large hardware wallet providers, are they going to have to bend to the beck and call of a government? Do you reach a certain size where you must comply with intelligence agencies?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it kind of makes sense that would happen. The bigger you get, you're going to get knocks on the door from the people that will make the decisions for you. But if you like kind of reverse engineer, let's say you had everything on Ledger and it got wiped, right? And if you're explaining it to a normal person, it'd be like, so let me get this straight. You bought this thing off their site. It came to your house. You plugged it in your computer and you sent everything you had onto it. And you didn't think that there was any type of way that the people that created it could get anything off it. And of course, all of our answers is, well, we just trusted that it was our thing and no one could touch it. And so to me, I don't know enough about the Ledger technology or the cold wallet technology to really say that this is right or this is wrong or they're bad or they're good. So I'm kind of on the sideline waiting for the chips to fall. And at the end of the day, I think people do forget, if they would just be quiet for a while, in 2 months, everything will be normal. But it's also not surprising to see all these marketing kind of kamikazes. You got the Bud Light, you got the Miller Lite, you got the Rainbow Ford, you got Target. And then of course,
North
Ledger
Face
jumps in.
Yeah.
What happened with North Face?
Don't Google it. Don't look up that ad on Twitter.
No.
Do not look up that ad.
Speaking of people forgetting though too, what about FTX 2.0?
Yeah. Again, that's John J. Ray's line item billing. It does say FTX 2.0. A lot of rumors. We're definitely going to be covering that. If it is confirmed, there's going to be FTX 2.0. But to wrap up on this subject, at least, Altcoin Daily, I want to ask you a pretty fundamental question about just retail here. And, you're going to be reaching out to retail pretty shortly with the show you have coming out. Hopefully, mass audience. Everyone's going to be watching this. My question to you is, do we need seed recovery to have mass adoption?
Yeah, thanks for shouting out the show, DZ. We're filming this summer and it will be out later this year. Killer Whales. For mass adoption, do we need seed recovery? Before I get to that, let me just provide a more moderate take on the whole Ledger recover debacle. First of all, saying that, why people choose hardware devices is so they have total custody of their finances. I mean, that is the revolution of crypto. That is important. I was listening to the CEO of Ledger on what Bitcoin did, and he was kind of explaining, and obviously he's in PR mode, but he was kind of explaining his thought process that there's a spectrum of wallets that are more towards that libertarian self-custody ideology. There's a whole spectrum. So obviously Coinbase Exchange, where they have total control of your keys, that's the worst. And a cold storage device where it's actual cold storage, that's the best. And then in between that, after Coinbase Exchange, the next level up is a hot wallet where you control your keys, but it's not necessarily the safest. The way he was explaining it is that this is one step above hot wallet. And in order to, really bring in mass adoption, you're going to want those different packages because, grandmas, not everybody's going to want to hold their keys in storage. I mean, there's going to be a certain percentage that keep their coins on Coinbase or Binance. And, that's okay. I mean, information is power as long as they know the trade-offs. Now, to answer your question in brief, do we need seed recovery for mass adoption? Can we reach mass adoption without seed recovery? I mean, I think we could reach it because that's going to be the easiest for retail. For the long-term growth and adoption of crypto, I think there's always has to be an option. I think if Ledger is doing things that the hardcore libertarians or hardcore self-custody people don't like, there are options available, and hopefully those options will gain more market share.
All right. Well, you kind of bring up some good points with centralized exchanges. That could be the, maybe the get around. Maybe that is how grandma doesn't have to write down 12, 24 words where if she loses it, sorry, there goes your retirement. That's obviously not going to make her feel pretty comfortable. So yeah, maybe Coinbase or Robinhood could be the answer. I do want to give a shout out to Crit Cats. Sorry, I missed your super chat from like 10 minutes ago. Of course, Bitcoin is dead, referring to the first topic. It's died over 400 times, referring to all the articles. Good one there. Sorry, I waited 20 minutes to read your super chat there. All right, well, let's move on and let's talk about some prison swaps. Not Prison Escape, the great show from Fox. Good first season, at least 15 years ago, 20 years ago. No, we're talking about a co-founder of an old Bitcoin exchange that was operated in 2016, got charged early 2017, January. BTCE. Probably haven't heard of it unless you're around back then, but the founder of that, Alexander Vinnik, he's facing money laundering charges in the U.S. This is we have a picture of him right here. I don't know if this is from his upcoming Trap House rap album. I hope it is. I will listen to that for sure. Originally, he was charged back in 2017, but recent filings from his lawyers, this is a quote from the lawyers, indicate he has been subject of political negotiations over a prisoner swap with Russia at the highest levels of the government. Some rumors are saying he might be swapped by with the Wall Street Journal journalist reporter Evan Gershkovich. And allegedly, Vinnik, he operated BTCE. He stole some identities and he facilitated money laundering, including the Mt. Gox hacker. And not only that, the people behind the 2016 Democrat National Committee hack, where they found Hillary Clinton's emails. Also, that exchange had zero KYC and no anti-money laundering practices there. But real quick, BBC also reported those assets that belonged on that exchange later went to the Russian FSB. So there's a lot of intrigue here, a lot of moving parts, a lot of just political mystique here. Mind your biz. What is your thoughts here? Not about is this prisoner worth that prisoner, what you may think of athletes that get caught with vaping devices over there, but is this, I don't want to say a good thing for America, but are you surprised to see Russia fighting for this older crypto exchange guy? Do you think he has some keys in his brain that they're after here? I mean, what are your thoughts on Russia just really seemingly wanting this executive?
That's a really good question because, historically, the United States, I'm going to sound very unpatriotic, and I promise it's the farthest thing from the truth. I am about as patriotic as they come. I align very closely with Rice, actually. I think the more patriotic you are, the more vocal you are about injustice and problems that you see in the system where you live. And so let me preface it by just saying that first. But historically, the United States, we don't trade prisoners. Not really. We when somebody is convicted of a crime that's worth actually committing, we employ them. And we've been doing this for the last 100 years, right? We've got a rich history of employing some of the people who are most capable, we'll say. I won't say that they necessarily commit human rights violations or whatever else, but in some cases, they do. Sorry to take a really sharp left turn here, but the United States, when we know that somebody has a very, very valuable brain or very, very valuable skill set, even if it's a little bit sinister, we tend to keep them in our employ, or bare minimum, that old phrase, right? Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. We tend to want to know where they are, right? And we tend to want to know how to maybe position them on the board. That's been our playbook for the last 100 years or more, bare minimum for as long as the CIA has been around. Expert at moving pieces on the board. And so seeing something like this happen, is it motivated by Russia? I would only be guessing here, right? It'd be pure conjecture. Maybe Russia sees something of value in getting this person back. Maybe there is a bit of a push. They've been, to their credit, they've been doing a lot of really intelligent things with their currency, rebasing to hard assets, rebasing to durable assets, helping to kind of play 4D chess with their oil reserves and with the international community, even in the midst of us engaged in a proxy war through Ukraine. Wow, I said too much, didn't I, Rice, by mentioning a proxy war? But anyway, the point is, there's a lot going on. And Russia has played a couple of they've put a couple pieces on the board very expertly. Now, am I like pro Russia? Hell no, no, not at all. Maybe they see some value in this swap, though. I don't know if the United States would see value in letting go of somebody who's that capable, though. So I don't know. Either we've got a really weird game of intrigue. I mean, Tom Clancy couldn't write stuff like what we're seeing in the modern day, right? Like you can't make this stuff up. But I can't imagine what the value would be to Russia versus us, because historically we don't let really high value assets go. The moment we have them, we tuck them off, we tuck them away in Gitmo, or we give them a job in Capitol Hill.
Hey, yeah, those advanced interrogation practices, hey, do you have more Bitcoin? I don't know. Who knows how that's going to go down? Well, Rice, I want to give you some more red meat here, something for you to chew on. All right, this is according to the Justice Department. They moved about $4 billion in Bitcoin. He's facing 55 years. I want to ask you about Sam Bankman-Fried. Do you think he'll receive a similar sentence, a half century or more? Or is he going to get a slap on the wrist?
He's definitely getting a slap on the wrist. I mean, they're just letting time go by for people to forget about what happened, for them just to kind of let him go. Otherwise, there's too much attention. So, I mean, with his lawyers and his team of lawyers, they'll be continuing things for years until the point that is forgotten. But the interesting thing about this BTCE is, if you really look into it, and I agree with everything that Seth said, the United States is not known for doing any trading when it comes to prisoners of war. And what's interesting about this whole thing is, when you dig into it, for one, it was around in 2011. So there weren't very many exchanges. And I don't think any exchange was doing KYC AML back then at all. So you can't really put it in the category of that. And anybody that sold Bitcoin to somebody using like different services on the web has been arrested for undercover agents for money laundering charges and operating without a money transmittal license. So I can't always believe all that. But the interesting thing was, about, if you just go on the Wikipedia page for BTCE, is it was seized by the United States in 2017. The servers were located here in the United States. It was founded in 2011. And as of February 2015, it handled over 3% of all the Bitcoin exchange volume. The platform was eventually taken over by the Russian Orthodox oligarch, and the funds from BTCE were used in the war in Donbass under the FSB. So this guy is a big player, and it really surprises me that they're letting him go. The Justice Department attempted to close them down in 2017. He was charged with like 21 different indictments. International money laundering schemes, allegedly laundering funds from the hack from Mt. Gox. So, I mean, this is a real big player. This guy knows what he's doing, and it really surprised me he's being released. And obviously, Russia wants him for a specific reason. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of this, trading this really, really potentially high-profile individual who's really good at money laundering, and giving them back to Russia for a journalist. And most of our journalists are crap anyway. So I would just say leave the journalist there, unless it's a really good, true journalist who did something to get arrested and we're trading him and he did something of service of the people. I would say most of our journalists today are just sellouts.
Yeah, I would say most, and especially large publications, legacy publications. I will say Wall Street Journal, probably better than most, but it's not exactly.
Not really.
It's better than an ABC, something like that. I'm sure.
Didn't the Wall Street Journal have Sam Bankman-Fried at their press event or that conference after all the
New York
debacle
Times
with FTX? And that was
New York Times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're better than New York Times. We'll give them that. Maybe not as good as Post though. Altcoin Daily here. If this swap does happen, they do end up trading this crypto bro. I'm sure that's what Elizabeth Warren would call him. They trade the crypto bro for the Wall Street Journal reporter there. Will this be weaponized as a, see, I told you crypto's bad. They're freeing criminals now.
Yeah, I mean, if they did the trade and Russia got back, we got the journalist and Russia got back their crypto criminal, it probably wouldn't bode that well for crypto. I mean, so what is this guy guilty of? Well, the allegations against this guy is that he stole identities, facilitated money laundering, including funds from Mt. Gox hacker, and also had no KYC, no anti-money laundering procedures, allowing criminals to allegedly use the exchange free of restriction. I think bad PR for crypto is inevitable. So the only thing that could save us from that is good actors. So guys, build up the good actors, call attention to the bad actors, and make people understand that there's a difference.
All right, and when it comes to good actors, there's no better actors than the Altcoin Daily brothers. When it comes to real thespians on stage, no one does Shakespeare better than this guy.
Good comedy, though. Good comedy, because you didn't.
God, I'm
I don't
so
know
mad
if
I
you
missed
witnessed
that.
their comedy. It's killer comedy. Those
I
guys,
need to watch
all
that
of them,
video.
all
I
of them
need
are
to watch
good, but
that
the twins were fantastic. They surprised me.
Yeah, this the number one thing
Right.
I wanted to see in Miami was the comedy roast. I'm not kidding. That was the number one thing I was looking forward to. Sorry, Ben Cowan's party. I wanted to see the comedy roast. All right, last question here. Piano Matty B. What are your thoughts of this crypto bro being traded? I mean, is this a good thing? And what are your thoughts of just will it be weaponized? Will it be seen as, this whole space is full of bad actors? What's your takeaway from this whole debacle?
Well, it's all too fishy for me. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Usually when we have crimes of anything financial, that's usually what they can get to stick. And that's the tip of the iceberg. And there's some huge underlying factors that they just can't make stick. So they go with like, kind of like the gangsters with money laundering, right? Or tax evasion. But I mean, it's just kabuki theater. So they're what are they trading for? They blame it on crypto for, what is it, a Wall Street journalist? As if they're worth anything, right? At this point, they're going to trade for some Russian. This is probably a deep Russian mobster with huge ties to everything from like weapons and anything you can imagine. They're just kind of pinning on some crypto because everyone thinks, oh, those nasty crypto traders, wow, they're evading taxes just like those nasty Russians are. So what made me think about this was, remember those two ravers that got caught? Didn't they get caught with $4 billion, like stealing $4 billion worth of crypto?
Yeah. Whatever happened to them?
I mean, so like, this guy's going to get 55 years, but what's going to happen to these guys? They can't go longboarding this summer. They're in the Hamptons, right?
Yeah,
So,
I remember.
do?
I think they disappeared after a Randy Zuckerberg music video. I never heard from them again. And no longer was trending in the crypto Twitter sphere. So boom, gone. Also gone. I guess this guy's cat gains. Sir Nye with the $10 super chat. Hey. He hated that coin on ETH, but it did okay on BSC, he said. So I'll give you a shout out for that. Sir Nye with the cat. We do like cats here. A shout out to Cat if you're watching at home. I know she's not. She doesn't watch the show. But I think that is all we have time for. Who took it home? Mind Your Biz. I mean, I think it was kind of, it was factored in. Let's just say that. It was in his wheelhouse. He's going to get an Oscar. Move over, Altcoin Daily. There's another best actor in the space. Mind Your Biz. Feel free. Leave us with some parting thoughts, just like you always do. Always dropping the alpha.
I appreciate that. I'm a meme model. Feels good. All right. So, parting words. Just appreciate you inviting me back on the panel. I appreciate really the camaraderie and the and even being placed on a panel with such great thinkers. Huge shout out to Aaron and of course the Altcoin Daily channel. Rice, who is a real one. You see it. I mean, he's an advocate. Some people talk about it. He is about it. Piano Matty B is one of the most talented people in the space, bar none. One of the most talented people. And so just really thank you for having me back on the show. If you're not subscribed, go to sub.myb.lol, and that'll bring you to my channel where I occasionally post as well. And thank you so much for having me on again.
Great panel, full of talent, full of bravery. Another shout out, Hawk Crypto Mining Co. All love. Great show. With the $10 super chat. Hey, we all love back to you. Guys, it's all love if you hit that like button. We're at 283. There's about 1,000 of us watching. If you love us, do you like us? You really like us? Go ahead, smash that. That's all we got. Until next time. Easy out.